Hey, I want to introduce you to a fellow Canadian Armed Forces veteran, personal trainer, and awesome human being, Adam Sheridan. He is crushing it when it comes to getting other human beings fit and healthy. His story is really inspiring, and I want to make sure that I was able to spread his message as wide as possible. Personal trainers are given a bad rap, if you want to call them influencers, whatever you want to call them, because a lot of us could be kind of skeezy and you probably had a bad experience. But when it comes to individuals that have a strong purpose like Adam does, you're going to find somebody who's passionate about what they do and are probably one of the best persons on the planet to help fight the obesity epidemic, but especially in the veteran world, get veterans moving so that they can literally fix their issues when it comes to mental health, obesity, and chronic pain. So stay tuned. We talk about all kinds of stuff. The podcast actually has a rolling start. We just started talking about AI and having a really cool conversation. So I want you guys to be able to actually hear what we had to say, because we're not just talking about random stupidities like two infantry gorillas. So stay tuned for that, and I hope you really enjoy the episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for all the support and follows. It really means a lot. Cheers. Hey, one last thing, I promise. We'll get right to the episode, but I want to thank you for being patient and sticking with me here on the YouTube channel. YouTube has been kind of generous with the strikes and blocking my channel as of late, so make sure that you find the mailing list in the description here. It's on my website, so that you can get updates when new episodes come out. I've also started a Rumble channel. You find the episode links in the description as well, and all the other platforms that you can find me at. And I just opened up my Patreon account, so you can find me there as well and become a paying patron, where you'll be able to not only get some alpha on some of the episodes that you might not get here on YouTube, but you'll also just be supporting the channel, which would go a long way to keeping free speech alive here in Canada. So I really appreciate the support and I appreciate your patience. Now on to the episode. Peace.
Well, truthfully, I just had to bring everything that saved me to other people. You know, like after I'd finished with the infantry, finished with the military, there was a big vacuum in my life, and I just led myself down a path of self-destruction pretty much. And when I realized what had actually fixed me was self-development, I realized, you know, I'm not too different than all the other infantry dinks out there, all the other army dinks, all these other guys. So I said, you know, if this fixed me, maybe it could fix them too. Things like if you're not using AI for everything, you're way behind. You've got to get, And I was like, I didn't even understand what to make of that. I was like, what do you mean? So I just recently, last week, downloaded Chat GPT, I believe. GPT?
Yeah.
That thing's better than Google. You can ask it a question. It actually does your work for you in a way.
Well, it's, I mean, we've been trained for like 20 years how to use Google. Like we use it as like a fact thing to like ask it like a fact and it spits one back. Like what is or how do I, but we don't know how to quite ask questions to GPT. It takes like a little training on. It's like, imagine it as God.
Yeah. You can
task. It's like, hey, do this for me. Like Google can't do that. Chat, it was like, Google can't do that. So
do this for me. And it does it for you. Whereas the other thing is just a quick question. Yeah, you can get some information from it, but it's cool. I love where it's going. It's almost scary. It's crazy. I love it,
dude. It's petrifying. I really don't. I mean, I've been, and the thing is with all this AI shit, I was like a science nerd growing up, so a bunch of my buddies that got me in like tracking on AI in like the early 2000s, like mid 2000s. And so I was just like reading up on like Kurzweil.ai, which is like my favorite website. So he's been predicting all this stuff for decades. He's the one that invented the synthesizer, this guy, Ray Kurzweil. It's really cool. And he's just been at the forefront of like AI tech. And like one of my buddies, he was Army with me at the same unit. And then he like completely changed his career path to like going to nursing. He's like, man, I got to find a job that's like not going to be, that's AI proof. And I'm like, yeah, man. And so that's literally why I'm in coaching, because I was like, okay, look, if there's something that's going to still be like a human thing, it's going to be coaching. It's going to be one-on-one. People are going to
People
gravitate
businesses.
more into people businesses. Exactly.
Yeah.
Even certain like doctors, like just because you have a PhD and stuff, it doesn't mean you're going to have a job just because you have like high level technical skills, because these technical skills are going to get wiped out if anything faster, because you're going to have an AI that's just going to be like, okay, got all the data. Okay. Diagnosis is, and it's much more reliable. So
you got to get now focused on businesses or industries where the people want to be working with another person. Medical tends to be more personal. Yeah. People want a human being's touch there with a coach. I don't want a robot coaching me how to eat and lift. I want a human being. So you're right. Now trying to narrow down the professions that won't get robbed by AI rapidly. And you know what? Also is the scary part about it, how fast the acceleration of it is. It almost seems like yesterday we started hearing the term AI being thrown around commonly, and now it's absolutely sweeping over everything. So the thought of where it will be in 5, 10, 20 years is staggering.
Yeah, it's absolutely cuckoo bananas world. We are living in probably the most interesting times in human history.
We definitely are. People always give it a lot of people always give this day and this time a lot of shit. And they're, this is the worst time. I think it's the best time ever. There could not have been a better time ever for us to be alive.
I agree, man. You know what? We're just gonna roll into we're already recording anyways. We're just rolling into the podcast, man. We don't need to go into the formalities, man. Adam, you've been on my radar for a little bit, considering your content on IG is fire. So with the Frontline Fitness business that you got started, you're really getting into like the nitty gritty of those that need to get fit, right? Like it's no bullshit. Like, hey, shut the fuck up, put your excuses in a fucking sack, and let's get to work. So I love that message. I'm just reading from your website here. The founder of Frontline Fitness, and found the elite coaching solution. Struggle is a choice. It ends today. Imagine yourself with the body of your dreams, standing tall and proud, your family and friends in awe at the man you have become. Now understand that this is the path you were meant to follow. Destiny has brought you here, not coincidence. The day has come for you to take the first step. Welcome to Frontline Fitness, where your health is the mission. Dude.
Heavy.
Inspiring as shit. I love it, man. So officially welcome to the podcast, man. And let's get into it, man. Like, what was your inspiration? Because you're an infantry guy.
That's right.
And obviously you're out now. So what was that like, fill in the gaps? So how'd you go from being an infantry guy fighting in the sands of Afghanistan to where you are now?
Man, you know what? Truthfully, I just had to bring everything that saved me to other people. You know, like, after I'd finished with the infantry, finished with the military, there was a big vacuum in my life. And I just led myself down a path of self-destruction pretty much. And when I realized what had actually fixed me was self-development, I realized, I'm not too different than all the other infantry dinks out there, all the other army dinks, all these other guys. So I said, if this fixed me, maybe it could fix them too. And I gave it a shot, and it was overwhelming how many people began to come through my portal, come through my door, and saying, yeah, that will fix me too. And it's been just massively successful. So this was just started off, I'd been doing this actually a long time prior to ever making $1 off of it. This was driven by passion. I realized that the only way to truly save myself was to save others. There's only so long I can focus on me and worry about Adam. Eventually, you got to take what's cured you, and you got to deliver it to others who are suffering from the same problems that I was. And my problems were, lack of identity, lack of purpose, alcoholism, drug use. I had just about every issue there was. But when I decided to cut the crap, really focus on diet, really focus on fitness, really focus on living out an active purpose, it saved me. It turned my life around completely. So that's where Frontline Fitness was formed.
That's a really inspiring message, and one that a lot of the guests here and myself echo all the time. There's only a certain limit to, like your self-improvement journey. And you get to that point where the only way to really break through is to help others. And it doesn't have to be like what you're doing right now. It doesn't have to be personal training. It literally could just be helping out your neighbors. It could be just giving back to the community, volunteering, whatever, going to church, doing the little things. And there was something that came up a while ago, and I've been trying to find the reference. I still can't. I know I heard it, but it was referencing just the Germans way back in the day, like pre World War I, because they were at the forefront of science, right? They invented
Yeah.
pretty much the modern scientific world was German, and they would prescribe as a doctor if you were feeling down, because humans, it's not like depression, anxiety is a new thing, but they understood it at a fundamentally better level. They knew, okay, look, dude, you're not doing so well, but next week you're going to come back and see me. But in that period, you're going to find somebody and you're going to help them, and it's going to be a complete and total stranger. And then report back and tell me how you feel. And miraculously, every time they came back, they're like, hey, I feel a lot better. Yeah.
Yes.
I know. And it's cool that you mentioned that as part of your driving force for your company, because yeah, I mean, I feel the same way too, man. I mean, giving back was the only way that got me out of the hole. I wrote a book. I was just fired up to write a book. I just had to write the book. I was getting up at like 5 a.m. and like typing out pages, having never done it before. And it was just that fire that I knew I had to do. I don't know where it came from, that like inspiration, but I just knew I had to. So you mentioned that, you're drinking, you weren't in a good place. What were the initial steps that you had to take? Like initially, like obviously you had to start working on yourself. What was that kind of journey like? And if you can let us into your world a little bit more.
You know what, man? That's a good question. It's like the collapse was slowly and surely. Really, it actually started by when I'd come back from Afghanistan. I was on Task Force 110, 1st Battalion, Royal Canadian Regiment, Charles Company, 8th Platoon. Came back, spent 211 days in that Panjwai district, and I began to drink really heavily when I got back. I was constantly looking for escape, and just constantly taking alcohol, drugs, working really, really hard on job performance, but I was lacking empathy. So slowly but surely, I destroyed my marriage. I began to destroy my personal relationships. Eventually, my work quality began to slide. One by one, everything began to break down because my personal habits were out of control. And then it wasn't until 2018, I found myself in ordered by the Army to go to the detox center in Fredericton, New Brunswick. And while I was standing in there, it kind of all dawned on me right there. I had lost my family. My wife and kids were gone. My personal relationships were in shambles. My career was completely destroyed. And I had just filed for bankruptcy. So everything in my life had collapsed. And I didn't know what to do or how to change it at all. I had even briefly thought about suicide because I just didn't have any real good way out of it. I didn't see a solution. But right there in that moment, I decided I was going to drop to the ground and do 100 burpees. And I don't even know to this day where that inspiration exactly came from. But I said, I'm going to fucking do some burpees. I'm stuck. I'm locked in this room. Might as well. And I began to do burpees. And I it was somewhere around the 70th burpee, I realized I'm not even thinking about anything anymore. It's all gone. All the noise in my head has disappeared. Maybe this could be a solution. Maybe this could be a way to stop the noise. Maybe this could be a way to better myself. So I made myself a commitment to do 100 burpees a day forever. And I've stuck to it. I have just persistently been doing that. Now, the first year of me trying to change my life was incredibly difficult. I almost had to alienate myself from the majority of my friend group. I had lost my sense of identity. It was really difficult. It was not all butterflies. And I'd like to say it was this great, miraculous process, but it was about 6 to 12 months of grueling hard work of just putting myself away, focusing on PT, focusing on that physical training, focusing on that diet, and promising that sobriety to myself and keeping it. And so that was it, and I took that last drink in 2020. February 15th, 2020 was the last time I ever touched alcohol. And I can say for sure the last 3.5 years of my life have been outstanding, better than all the other years combined, So, but walking into that self-development journey initially, it was very difficult. So I just say to anybody who's thinking about taking the journey, you got to be willing to climb. You got to be willing to fight. You got to be willing to go through the hard times if you're going to get those good times.
Mm-hmm.
You got a little bit of a journey ahead of you, but it's totally achievable and it's a road well worth taking.
That's
if I could only go back, I would have done it sooner.
Yeah. I like what you said there about disappearing for a little bit. We'll get back to the burpees in a second, but it brings up a quote that I've heard a bunch of times, that men get rewarded in public, for what they do in private.
Wow.
And that's like, you got to disappear for a little bit. And you did.
Yeah.
And you just worked on yourself, buddies, family members. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm just working on me. I'm just putting in the work. And sometimes, yeah, you do have to disappear. You just have to, once you have that revelation, oh man, I got a ton of work to do. And I was just listening to, I don't know if you're familiar with Bedros Keuilian.
No.
So, anyways, I just got turned on to his work and his podcasts and his books and stuff like that recently. I'm actually going to go see him tomorrow. I'm leaving for LA, and
Cool.
he talks about like the modern day night, and he talks about, you just need to work on yourself at a certain point and just cut out all the noise. And that's kind of part of being on that path as a man, because, you were saying like you said you were on 110.
Yes.
Okay, so I relieved you. I was on 310.
Right.
Yeah. I was in Dan though, so I don't know. I've had this conversation before with other guys that are on 110. It's like, man, I think we kind of saw. Was it possible we saw each other?
Yeah, that overlap, right?
that overlap. Like,
yeah,
you at CAF? Like, were you at the Green Beans? So yeah, okay, whatever. Everybody was in tan at that point. Everybody looked the same. But to point that out and to to realize that there's a moment that you had this transition phase, man. Like, you were badass freaking warrior. You were coming back from war, and then all of a sudden there's no war. Okay. Then what do? And your family starts falling apart. Like, and all these things are like, these are pillars of a man's life: family, career, community. These are all like the big pillars, and it seemed like they all got like just washed out.
Yes.
In a span of a few years. That must have been freaking brutal. And I'm not surprised they said, hey man, like, I was just considering ending it, because it seems like you're caught between a rock and a hard place.
That's right. Yeah.
But you got to that 1,000 burpees, man. That 1,000 burpees, that's that. Whether you want to call it God, whether you want to call it the universe, something like hit you right in the chest and said, do this now. And I'm always fascinated when guys like yourself say you have a moment and you just listened, because you could have said,
that's
fuck
right.
it. You could have said, fuck it, like 1,000 burpees, or, like 100 burpees, right? 100 burpees a day.
Yeah. And that's mostly men's problems is we let our brains talk our hearts out of what we know the truth is. Our hearts will try to guide us in the right way, but often our brains are just lazy fucking bitches, and they just say, you don't need to do that. Oh, you deserve a break.
Go lie down.
Okay, that'll be really hard. There's an easier. Oh, shut. If I could just tell my brain to shut the fuck up, I do it all day. You know what I mean? Like, your heart will guide you. And I think a lot of these problems for men, or warriors specifically, guys returning from war, or guys that are getting out of the military, I believe they suffer so many problems due to lack of purpose. Like, when you're in the army, your purpose is almost delivered to you. You're part of an institution. You're given your uniform. You're given your timings. Here's all your guys you're with. And you inherit this sense of purpose, whether they even consciously acknowledge it or not. And all of a sudden, when you leave that, you have to look inside yourself and refine that purpose, because the army isn't giving it to you anymore. But when these men don't, they fail to find that new purpose, well, then what takes over? Pleasure. And if you live a life based on pleasure over purpose, you will self-destruct. You have to have that purpose over pleasure mentality. And that's what I lacked. I came back and my habits took over. Eventually the purpose was gone and my pleasures just took over. And, Adam guiding Adam is not a great idea.
Yeah.
I need to be right outside of myself and be living for a purpose higher than myself. And that's what I found, and it saved me.
Yeah. And it's a great message. And there's almost, there's seasons of our lives too. I'm starting to realize, as you age, as you do different things, as you experience different experiences, you end up getting to this point where you have to make a choice. You could either stay the same or grow through it. And there's rites of passage, and especially for men and even young men. Most of us, I don't know when you joined, but I joined when I was 19. And that was my rite of passage into quote unquote manhood. I'm glad I did, because I didn't have anything else to put me through it. But then come out on the other side, I didn't have anything. I didn't know what to do. I was home. I got back into teaching. I didn't feel like I had anything like underpinning me. So I just buried myself in work. I was like, well, eventually I will work myself out of it. And I kind of did, but I kind of didn't, because I fell apart too. Not nearly to the point where it kind of all went away. I caught myself kind of right at the moment where it was about to kind of all go away. And I'm glad I did. But that was where, I started writing the book, and I just had that moment. But in your case, you started doing the 100 burpees, and that's why I wanted to go back to it. Like I see your videos, and now it gives a lot more context. You do burpees a lot in your videos, but it's because those burpees, you could effectively say, saved your life.
Yes, I know it's a proven solution. You know what? People are fucking professional level athletes at making excuses nowadays. Oh, I can't. The gym costs too much. Oh, it's too far. I don't have the time. But there's one thing the Army did teach me is you can do fucking push-ups anywhere. They've made me do push-ups, whether I'm in a trench, on top of an armored vehicle, in the drill hall. It doesn't fucking matter. They'll wake you up in the middle of the night. You can do a burpee anywhere on the planet at any time. So it removes all excuses. You just got to hit the floor. You got to have the will to do it and hit that floor.
Mm-hmm.
Burpee's so effective.
Yeah, and those burpees almost seem like a rite of passage into your new life. I mean, as simple as it may seem, it's just a burpee. It really changed who you were, which is really fascinating. And it's like your move. It's your thing. Yeah. And that's really cool, because you can center yourself on a burpee. And I'm sure there's almost like a meditative thing for you now when you do those burpees, because it's like brushing your teeth. If that's always in your day. So, at least at the end of the day, I've done this, whether your day was shit or not, I've accomplished something. And that's something that I try to hammer home too, even with myself, just keep a streak going. I learned that Jerry Seinfeld wrote a joke, and I think has continued to write jokes every day of his life for 40, 50 years. And that's why he's the best. That's why he's Jerry Seinfeld, because he keeps a streak going, because that is just a non-negotiable for him. And if more people could understand that you have to establish some non-negotiables, they'd be significantly better off. It doesn't mean like you have to go to the gym every day. It could just be like, hey, I do 10 push-ups maybe every day, but you're doing that 10 push-ups, you get that shit done. I wanted to get into a little bit of how and who you train, and kind of the importance and the philosophy that you have around fitness and health.
Yeah, man. You know what? So my clients range all over the place. And I thought initially getting into this, I would just be helping veterans, because, that's what I was doing initially. But after, putting this out, I have anywhere from, busy moms, I got one guy who's a prison guard. I got several other retired infantrymen, a couple active duty. So it does kind of span and range. But most people tend to, most guys in the program are military guys. And I find that they do respond to the same thing I responded to. I don't tend to jump until someone's screaming at me, or somebody hits me with that inconvenient truth. I often think, what I'm sliding on is invisible to the rest of them. But when when a sergeant or a master jack would stand in front of me, pointing out my obvious deficiency and screaming at me about it, it tended to hit home and actually work. So that's what I try to do with others. I point out their visible deficiency and I dig straight into it. But most people in the program tend to be active duty military, or and just looking to get themselves out of that mental pit they're in, or retired. Restoring that purpose in them.
Yeah. So what do you think is what have you seen as like the biggest factor in improving people's health? Like, is it PT? Is it nutrition? Is it sleep? What seems to be like that factor that gives the person that next level up with their health and nutrition?
That's a great question, man. You know what? Honestly, it's mindset. It's mindset training. So what I like to focus on is mindset, fitness, and nutrition. Now, fitness and nutrition, let's be honest. Fitness is the actual fun part. Nobody comes out of a gym or out of a workout and goes, oh, that was fucking awful. Everyone leaves it in a good state. Nutrition is really, really difficult, because that's the part nobody sees. Yeah. When you're in the gym working out, there's ladies in yoga pants. There's all the boys there. It tends to almost be a fun event. But when you're at home in the kitchen, nobody's there to judge you. It's very easy to make a mistake. However, when it comes to mindset training, that is by far the most important. Now, I have a mindset journal created for clients. They can fill it out every day. It's a one-page pro forma. But really what people have to get grilled in their head is what their purpose on this planet is. Mine, as a man, and I believe every man should have the same purpose, but my purpose is to become the best version of me possible, and then use that version to help as many people as I can. So it gets people to escape themselves. You're not just focusing on diet. I have to get people to understand that you're not just focusing on your diet and fitness for you. You're focusing on your diet and fitness for your children, for your wife, for all the people around you that love you, support you, and want what's best for you. So when I get people to actually acknowledge that this is more of a mental game, you need to discover your purpose. You need to identify yesterday's problem and put a solution in for it today. When people begin to get mentally organized, the fitness and the nutrition actually come rather easy, and then your body begins to change. And now you're instilling, confidence and a sense of, purpose, and your whole life begins to get better. But really, it all starts with here. But once you get people doing, just as simple as getting them doing jumping jacks and eating a couple good meals a day, they start to see that through positive action, they change the mindset. But once the mindset catches on, they become actually sustainably fixed. People that just go through the motions of eating and doing jumping jacks, but nothing starts to correct here, I don't find they stay very well for very long. But mindset training is by far the most critical.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Hands down, that is the bulk of the work, especially when you're at that phase where you've decided that you need to make a change, but you're still kind of hesitant because from what I can see, most people, they don't not believe that, we as like coaches can help them and get them to the next level. They don't fundamentally believe that they will be successful themselves, and they will fail, and they will feel like a failure, and they will have spent money, and then they'll be like, oh, I did it again. And it's getting them over that hump. And, I work with a lot of veterans, right? A lot of these guys are hard charging warriors.
Yeah.
But in the time that they've been out to now, they're a shell of a man. And it's almost hard to see, but it's inspiring when they can like get back on the horse. And it's like, look, I think a lot of the times, and maybe you could speak to this too, from the people that you work with, ego is the enemy. I've experienced this. I was able to do all kinds of shit in my 20s. And then I'm in my 40s now, or even in my 30s when I couldn't walk properly and I was all banged up, and I was just in my head. I was like, well, in order for me to get fit, I need to be doing Fran at like sub 8 minutes. I need to be, running my 1.5 miles sub 9 minutes, and I'm not. And so I just go, I'm just not going to do it. What's the point? And because I just have this idea that I need to be at that extreme level that I was before. And if not, what's the point? And
that's right.
I'm curious to know, like, especially with the veterans that you're working with, do you see that kind of similar pattern where they get stuck in their old mindset of I used to be and their story is telling them that I should be like I was before, but I'm not. And therefore they go into this like downward spiral of self-pity and shame.
It's brutal. Yeah. And that's everyone's biggest problem. I find the hugest problem with veterans is, some people might shit on me for saying this, but they keep identifying themselves as a veteran.
Yeah.
And when you identify as a veteran, you are identifying as something you used to be.
Yeah.
You are just saying, I used to do this. And that's not what you currently necessarily are doing for the world anymore. If you're identifying yourself by your past accomplishments, I find it to be a dead end. The most depressed and the vets I meet that suffer the worst from depression and anxiety, I ask them, what are you doing currently today? And they're nothing. Their answer is always nothing. Well, of course, you're going to feel like nothing. You're doing nothing. And then you're right. They constantly are comparing themselves to others and to their previous self. What's that saying? Comparison is the thief of joy. You got to stop comparing yourself to what you used to be, or what this next door neighbor of yours is doing, or this dickhead on social media. Close off the world and just focus on what your next step forward is. Now, for me, when people ask me, what are you? What do you do? I always identify as what I currently am today. And what is it that I give back to the world? That's how I identify myself. I don't ever blurt out, I'm a veteran. This is what I used to do. No, that's what I used to do. It's no longer what I am. So a lot of vets, they sit on the couch wondering why they feel like shit, but they're doing nothing. You feel like nothing when you do nothing. They've got to stop comparing themselves to their old self, comparing themselves to those around them, and just get up and take action. And once you take action, a positive mindset will follow.
I had this conversation not too long ago, actually. Just published the episode with Dr. Whitley. He's a doctor here actually in Montreal. He's a psychiatrist and he works with men, but he also works with veteran men, which was kind of fascinating because I had never heard of him before. And he'd written a book, and his conversation revolved around, men, you get better by doing shit. You can't expect to get better just by talking to people all day. That's not like, there's a great phase of like stabilization, talk it out. Well, the demons, okay, cool. But then after that, you got to literally be out, he said, hunting, fishing, working out it doesn't matter, but you got to start literally moving. And I always use the motto or the expression, action begets action. It's a positive feedback loop because you already said it. Once you start doing jumping jacks, eat a bit better, miraculously, you just want to do more. And that idea like, oh, I don't have energy. Oh, I'm low energy. Energy is a state that you're in. It's not the actual amount of literal energy that you have in your cells. It's the state. And if you're in a depressive state and you're not moving, you're not getting sunlight, you're not going to want to do anything. And miraculously, you could be doing a million different things, like the high-powered people in the world, like the Tony Robbinses, the Elon Musk, like they're busy motherfuckers.
That's right.
But Elon Musk is training BJJ like 3 days a week to like choke out Zucks, like what is this? You think he doesn't have like a ton of time? Like, and so it's all perception. And like, obviously he's able to find the energy because he's fired up. He's doing what he's passionate about. And I love what you're saying there. Like, yeah, veterans, especially. And I noticed that too. They've got to a point, if they're in a bad way. And I don't want to judge because I was in that state too.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get out of the basement, man. I just felt like shit. And then it was just that moment where it's like, no, you got a family now, man. Like you can't just accept this. This isn't your end state where you're just a miserable sack of shit in the basement. Everybody's going to resent you. You're going to resent yourself, and God knows where that goes. So I love the fact that you're talking about just basic movement, like just get the hell out and do something, anything. So on the side of, if we want to stay on the side of just a training and stuff like that, what are some of the go-to things that you love doing yourself and having some of your athletes go through as a means to just really jack up their fitness levels?
Yeah, great question, man. Like, so I like to keep it well-rounded, there should be a steady mix of calisthenics, some high rep calisthenics. I encourage them always, go for runs, go for walks, do a little bit of weight training. If swimming's something you love, but try to be diverse because, I'm a big fan of, how do I word this? Like, I don't care how much weight you can push from here to here if you can't even go for a walk around the block. I don't care if your squat is any
fundamentals.
Good.
Fundamentals.
I don't care how good your squat is if you can't even bend over and pick something off the ground. So I try to focus on them having a more functional body. When, I'm actually aiming for, when you drive by two 90-year-old guys and they're lawn bowling.
Yeah. Yeah, I go over here.
Yeah, I want to be 90 years old still with a functional body. So, getting your bench press up as high as possible, wonderful. Getting your squat numbers up, great. Yeah, we're all going for that. But don't forget what the goal is. The goal is health and longevity. So I incorporate a lot of stretching, high rep calisthenics, walking, weightlifting, just trying to create a body we can live in longer.
I like
While really keeping the client's goal in mind, though. If the client's goal is mass, then we're going for mass training. If the client's goal is to lose weight, we're going to lose that weight. But I try to keep the body as functional as possible.
Okay.
So every routine starts off with dynamic stretching. So.
Okay. Nice. I like that.
That's right.
And then, like especially in the veteran world, a lot of us are banged up, right?
Yeah.
Knees, back, hips. Like how do you address that with somebody that's coming through one of your programs?
Yeah, that happens actually all the time. And I actually had one guy, I started with him in January of this year, and he couldn't even walk correctly. He would walk in bent over. Like in that hinge, we all saw that sergeant or that warrant, that old woe dog right there. You barely even walk.
Too many jumps, man.
Yeah, that's right. And this guy came in like that, and he just had a blown lower back. And actually, at points during the workout, he would say, "I have to stop." and he would lay down on the ground and have to put his legs up. He was in that bad a shape. Fast forward now to 8 months later, he has no back issue, nothing. And I do this by, gradually building the frequency, gradually building the resistance, and just starting off with what you can do and gradually moving into what you can't do. I don't want you to keep repeating the same thing week after week. So we got him to a point where there's basic. It was basic movements, and he could pull them off. Now we're going to add a little bit more weight, a little bit more frequency. But these issues, especially with injured veterans, can be very tricky. So we take them slow, and we go against that test of time, right? Keep them safe through their training and keep that progressive overload to keep going.
Yeah.
Strength.
I always think if you were hired by the Canadian Armed Forces, imagine, and you just took guys that had back issues, knee issues, just said, guys, look, we're going to spend the next 3, maybe 4 months. You're going to work with me. I mean, you can still go to your physio, do all that stuff. Imagine the retention rate that you would have. Because I mean, I'm out because of back and knee. My back still sucks, but I was literally like doing this on a regular basis, right? Just like that guy. And it was strength and conditioning and mobility work. And then I realized, oh man, I could have stayed in. This was, my career essentially. And then it was gone because I thought I was, fucked for life. But then a guy like yourself comes along and it's like, hey, do this. Yeah, work a little bit in this. Yeah, it's slow progression, but we're going to get there. It's not going to be perfect, but you're going to be able to get your life back. That would just be, such a game changer. I had this conversation with Kelly Starrett as well. He's like, imagine you could just improve by 10%, the injury rate or recovery rate for troops across the board. It'd be huge. Or just, hey, you know what? Maybe we can't get it to the troops, but we just get it to the veterans, at least at a fundamental level.
Yeah.
How much better would, and this is where I want to take the conversation on to like the mental health side of things. Like for me, the equation for improving just broad mental health issues here, especially in the veteran space, requires an element of physical fitness. And it just seems like nobody wants to even address it. It's just, well, we'll keep on doing our drugs. We keep on doing, let's talk. Dude, like the evidence is so overwhelming. You got to get your ass moving. And if you do, you're going to have an overwhelmingly better response than doing all the stuff that we're already doing. Like, so, in your case, are you seeing guys that are coming, and gals, I guess, that are coming to see you, and then it's just like, they just have this like revelation, like, oh shit, like I feel like $1 million.
Yeah, absolutely. And to echo what you're saying, I totally agree. And I ask myself the same questions all the time. The solution to having less injured troops and more people that are able to stay active duty is exactly what you said. Just having this preventative maintenance almost, where troops are doing actual proper PT in the morning. Proper PT.
Not touching your toes and then fucking
yeah. It's like, oh, well, these guys all, I don't want to slam the Army, but it's like, you come in the morning, everyone's got a blown back and blown knees. And they're like, let's go 10 clicks. It's just the same thing. It's actually beating the body down rather than building the body up or saving it. And the answer is very clear. Doing proper PT that almost mimics physiotherapy, right? If you had troops in the gym all being led by a physiotherapist type thing, like you said, they had to go in every morning. And the band goes around the knees. You're strengthening all the aspects of the knees, the ankles, the hips, and all the stabilizers within it. We're doing a ton of trunk rotations. We're strengthening that lower back. You would see a much higher retention of combat troops specifically. But I don't know if it's a money issue, a time issue, an intelligence issue, but it just hasn't been implemented. But you're right. The answer is there. It's clear. But guys getting out for the troops that are, in, you're right. There's a certain element that, we could have just done a ton more physio with these guys and then retain them as soldiers. But once you're already out, you're out. What's done is done. Now we just got to repair it. But the same aspect goes. I mean, I've seen a lot of troops come out of the military and they're absolutely crippled walking out of it. And you see them 2-3 years later and they've gotten better through the same things: dynamic stretching, proper eating, proper rest, less mental stress.
Yeah. Less inflammation, right? Like
that's correct. And that goes back to eating. right? Proper water intake, proper eating is going to lower your inflammation, and then doing a lower frequency of that exercise, not going on those 10K runs every morning like we have to.
Oh,
That's
come
going to help
on,
your body
man.
repair.
Adam, don't tell me that, man. But I'm good at running. That's what I know.
Yeah.
I can't keep on going for those 10Ks. Ah, shit. Yeah.
It's also, man, a belief system thing. Like, if you tell somebody that they are sick and they are injured enough times, they will be. They will be. But once you can change a person's belief system into saying, no, my body is fixable. I can be healed. I can get better. And they actually truly start to believe that, they begin to see rapid changes in their physical and mental health, right? It's the belief system that a lot of people are stuck in that really holds them down forever.
Yeah. That's
fucking crazy.
That's the stories we tell ourselves, right? That's had a chat with Mark England, great guy. And he just he works a lot with troops too. Guys that have seen everything and anything, right? And you got to write shit down, and you got to just start changing that story that you've been telling yourself for so long. Like,
Yeah.
or like, like even just paradigms, right? Oh, well, I can't run anymore. So how am I going to lose weight? Oh, okay. Well, there's all kinds of different things. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally mix this up, because you get stuck in this. Well, I can't do CrossFit anymore. My elbows hurt, my knees hurt. So what's the point? I can't do all this other stuff that you used to do. Well, it's like, okay, well, yeah, but we can change this. And you might've had a bad experience. And another great expression that I learned the other week, like, don't let a bad decision burn you twice. So
Wow.
man, I love listening to podcasts. I get all my wisdom from podcasts. The idea around that is, like, imagine like somebody comes and says, oh man, you know what? I've worked with a coach in the past, and I'm just worried, like, I'm not going to work with a coach again because I got burned. Like, they really sucked. Oh, okay. So you're just never going to get better because you had a bad coach? Or same, that would be like ridiculous if you said, like, well, I had a girlfriend in high school and she broke my heart, so fuck women. It's just like,
yeah, my car broke down the other day, so I'm not driving anymore.
I'm never driving again. Okay, so why do you do that with fitness, right? So it's always just interesting how humans are, right? Because we end up creating these stories almost off the bat, just because if something doesn't work, we just assume that'll never work again. So in your case, like, I don't have many coaches like that do exactly what I do on here. So it's good to have kind of like somebody that understands kind of like the actual like tactical level stuff. Where do you see coaching going? Because we were having an interesting little chat about like AI and stuff like that moving forward. I mean, the reason why I got into coaching is because I feel that coaching, because I'm a teacher by trade, is just the natural logical extension for me to have something that I love to do forever, and I can affect people's lives at scale. And also there's the element of, we were talking about artificial intelligence. I feel that jobs like this, if you want to call it a job, are AI proof, because human beings are going to want to always be with other human beings. At least I'm assuming that's a big assumption. That's my big assumption.
No, I believe you to be 100% correct, because people can't relate to a robot. Well, actually, people don't even hire me because I can do a fucking gazillion burpees, or because of I eat this way or that way. People actually hire me because they connect with me.
100%. There you go. 100%.
It's the human experience where they listen to my shit and they're like, fuck, like I feel like I've suffered like this guy too. And maybe if he can get better, I can get better. So there's that human connection with it, where it really can't be replaced by a robot, right? But, yeah. And I think, you don't get that, you won't learn anything like that from a robot. In the way of like, let's flip this straight over to like people, what you were saying before about people, they've always got an excuse why it won't work. Right. But that really just boils down to their confidence, their lack of reliability in themselves. I'm a firm believer that, a robot can't teach me this. You can't become confident from that crap. It has to come from a human. So when it comes to, so when your confidence, man, you got to show up for yourself. You must. When you say, I'm waking up at 5 a.m., I'm going to eat healthy and I'm going to go to the gym. You have to do it. You have to follow through and be reliable to you if you want to actually build confidence. Think about it when you ask a group of your friends, guys, can you all come over at 5 o'clock? We got something that really important needs to happen. You've always got that one friend where hell or high water, that guy will be there. He will never flake. He will be on time. You got that one friend that you are so bloody confident in. And you're confident in him because he's reliable. So if you want to be confident in yourself, you have to learn to be reliable to you. And I don't really find that you can learn that kind of stuff. I can't learn that from a book. I can't learn that from reading it off of a screen. There's no AI that could help me with that. I have to have that human connection with another person. And then they taught me that because I learned all this from other people, really looking at the people I admired the most. What did I admire about them the most? And that's what it really boiled down to, is they are reliable people. They are confident people. And I chose to mimic and mock their movements until I became what I am now, the fixed version of Adam Sheridan. So I don't believe that's something that could ever be replaced by AI. But hey, who knows, right? Who knows? But I would believe the coaching space to be more AI proof than other industries. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd have to agree on that. 100%. Well, if I didn't, I'd be in the wrong profession, right? But the points that you echo there, I mean, it speaks to a bigger issue, in my opinion, that the coaching space has always been seen, in my opinion, as a place for unprofessional, lazy, like a bunch of kind of hacks and like scammers. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of guys in this fitness space that are that, guys and gals.
It's saturated for sure.
So it gives the space kind of a bad name. But when you find the good ones like yourself, when you find those people, like, it's, in my opinion, better than any doctor. It's better because you're working at a tactical level with somebody on a regular basis, talking about their issues, talking about what's going on, how to figure out these little things that a doctor won't care, because at the end of the day, you may show up. It's like, well, everything's good. Your blood work's good. Your urine's good. So what's the issue? Okay, well, get the hell out of here. Or, hey, here, take a pill. They're not fixing root causes. And that's where I see, coaching needs to be at that next level of standard of care. But until we get there, right, we're not going to see the health revolution that we actually need to fix the entire population, because 88% of fucking North Americans are metabolically broken, which is just like, like no doctor is going to fix that. No pill, no injection, nothing is going to fix that. It's a coach that has to break down your habits and say, dude, this all needs fixing.
That's right.
Nuts, right? And that's where like guys like yourself come in. So, Adam, I just want to, before we wrap up here, I want to know where folks can get a hold of you. Where can they, apply for coaching? What's the best socials? Let's let them have it.
Absolutely. I'd love to work with them, right? You can hit me up on Instagram, Adam Sheridan Fitness. I've also got a website, adamsheridanfitness.com. And just hit me up through either one of those. I set up a Zoom. We get right on face-to-face, and we just open that up. We just open it up, figure out what the issues are, because you know what? We all like to think we're individual and we're really special and all of our problems are unique, but it's staggering how alike we all are. We all think in our quiet moments we're suffering from something that's so unique and embarrassing, but it's not. We all have different types of issues, but they're really similar solutions to fix them. So for anybody looking to get in touch with me, hit me up on Instagram, Adam Sheridan Fitness, or on my website, adamsheridanfitness.com. I look forward to it.
Love it, man. Frontline Fitness. I forgot to mention it at the start, but you're a tank top guy. Like all your videos are either shirtless or tank top. So I put my only tank top on, and I want to give a shout out to, this is actually Dallas Alexander's tank top. So I want to just give him a little shout out. He's doing some good work too. So I got to support the troops, right? That's the next phase, when we got to support the troops. We're not fighting the wars anymore, but we've got to support the businesses. So
that's right. Yeah.
Adam, really appreciate it.
I'll send you out a tank, bro. You shoot me that Addy.
Yeah, right on. Dude, I'll wear it on the next pod, man. That'll be sick.
Yes,
you got a sick logo.
Bro.
So Adam, thanks so much for
thank you for having
coming on the podcast, man. This was a great chat. And continued success in the future, man. Keep on crushing it, man. It's really good to see another Canadian in the health and fitness space, crushing it on socials and influencing a lot of people's lives in the process. So continued success, brother. And folks, don't forget, see you on the next one. Train hard, fight easy. Peace. I hate t-shirts that get floppy in the arms after 10 washes. So that's why I created a bunch of t-shirts with high quality cotton just for you so that you can go to the gym and look fresh, sport some philosophy, and smash those PRs looking good. So you need to head to davemorrow.net/merch, grab yourself a hat, grab yourself a t-shirt, grab yourself a sweater, and support the cause today.